So quick video to give some tips on the new version of Tacview. Number one, just wanted to help folks get their new objects moved over to 1.5. There is a better location now to keep your objects, and that actually will be very, very useful. So if you've, and when I say objects, I mean specifically things like the NTTR grid, the NTTR points, the textures, terrains, things like that. As you can see, I've got loaded here. Previously, you would copy and paste those into the installation directory. So for example, just going to go here into the C drive, program files. So inside Strauss software, I've got my two versions of Tacview now, one being 1.4, the other one being the 1.5 beta. So previously you would like copy and paste your objects into data static objects, right? Now I can just copy these out of here. And what I'm going to do is move them, go up, C drive, the root of C, this program data folder. Now, if you don't see the program data folder, you probably just have it hidden. I think it's hidden by default. So just click on your view and check this box here that says hidden items, and then you should see it. And in here, you'll have a bunch of apps. Go look for Tacview, data. Notice static objects has a space in it now, so you can't just copy and paste that folder and then just paste the objects in here. I did it earlier, so those objects are there. And so now just close open Tacview and you'll have your objects. And also, most importantly, future versions will just read from that common location. So you won't, doesn't matter how many versions you have installed, you will be able to reference those objects going forward without having to. Even if you uninstall Tacview, they'll just live in that program data directory, which is awesome. Okay, next thing, the terrain here, which if you're not using it, you can kind of see it loaded. This is great because now I can actually see, you know, some of the markings and landmarks rendered in Tacview, as you're seeing in my screen here. So I was actually in 63 Bravo, I guess, I don't know, a week or so ago, you know, flying some patterns at the range, and I can actually see that dry lake I was flying over. So this is really, really great that that's rendered there. He did a really good job with this stuff. We could actually create custom terrains. We've made a couple forum posts. I think Eddie made one. Certainly Virtuois made one on the ED forums. Really, really easy to get this file loaded. Basically download it from his website. So just go to the Tacview page, home, news, and then it's listed down here as VFR ground textures. So just grab that. And when you download it, unzip the terrain file and simply put it in that program data directory. So again, C drive, program data, Tacview data, and it's gonna, there should actually be a terrain folder in the download. So just drop it in there after you unzip it, and then you're pretty much good to go. Just close Tacview, reopen it, and now you've got this terrain texture. You may also notice here that I've actually got the DME arc. This is for our IFR procedures here. I'm still playing with that, probably gonna make that a little less translucent, just so you could look at the IFR approaches. That's a 21 DME arc there. And then the glide slope is there as well. I'll try to release that shortly. That obviously gets loaded into Tacview the same way, right in the program data folder. So that you guys can evaluate how you're flying the VFR approaches. A feature we probably don't use too much was actually introduced in 1.4, and that is the ability to insert bookmarks. You can actually see one here that I've inserted, but it's really simple. So let's say I go to some specific point, gonna choose my object, maybe my HUD view, whatever, at this particular point. And now I kind of want to have this as a reference saved, right? It's not a specific event that's in the event log, but I want to create one. So I'm just basically going to insert a bookmark, name it dojo point 2, whatever, and then just hit OK. And now that event is saved. So I can come back and reference that, right, at any point. So that, and then I can just save that in the ACMI file and distribute it as I wish. On a related note, this is actually also possible. He had told me a while ago it was a little rough, but I think it's working fine now, which is, so let's say this is my 1.4 installation, this is my 1.5, and let's say you and I, doesn't matter, we have the same version, right? And we're talking about Tacview and I'm trying to draw your attention. And I say, hey dude, look at this point. So let me just get myself to a random point. some about 39 and 17, right? So I'm just going to click in the 3D window. I'm going to Control C, right? So I just copied a shortcut, click in this window over here, Control V, takes me to that exact point, 3917. So what you can do with that, so I'm doing it, on my own just to demonstrate the point, but I can just Control C this, paste it to you in TeamSpeak, right, in the in the channel window, or put it in a forum post, assuming you have either the same ACMI file or a file with that window in it. So our ACMIs don't have to be identical, right? It's the same thing like when we're doing the debrief. And you basically take that point and click on it. As long as you've got that ACMI file open, it'll take you directly to that reference point. So that's a little less useful than other ways of doing it, but works nonetheless. So I wanted to point that out. In terms of the events there's a couple other things we had spoken about. One was being able to use like countermeasures to create events. So right now, if you flare or you chaff, that does not create an event in the event viewer. And that's useful for us if we're doing like the air-to-air stuff, right? And we kind of want to mark a point where we haven't released ordinance or done anything, but we kind of want that to be a point we could jump to in the file. So while he did that a long time ago and he pulled it back out because it was pretty spammy, because what happens is for people who aren't using countermeasures for that point, right? Like they're just using it for normal countermeasure use, that can create quite a lot of events in the file. So what he did was in the MiG-21, it's only in the MiG-21 right now. I've asked him to do it in the A-10. The de-ice button is not used for anything. So basically, if you hit the de-ice button in the MiG-21, it will create an event. So obviously nothing actually happened in the mission, right? So you haven't released ordnance or anything. But now you've got an event that you can go back and look at, which is effectively what we want it to be done with the flares and countermeasures. So I told him I'd give him some buttons in the A-10 that weren't used. Obviously, there's lots of options like that. So that way you can map that button, and then if you just want to create an event while you're flying, you can do that, and then that would be a reference point later in the flight. The other thing we spoke about was the ranges of the threats. So to make them selectively, you can selectively enable or disable the particular threats, which obviously is useful for us so we could see what we're actually maneuvering against, as opposed to literally every threat, which gets a little saturated in the view here, as we can clearly see. So he understands that problem. He actually thought it was working by turning off all of the threats and then just mousing over the ones you cared about. I demonstrated that wasn't working. So he understands and he's looking to implement that in a future version. All right, hope this has been useful.